After my last video, somebody asked me whether during my job interview at the Golden Nugget I interviewed as a guy or a girl. And reluctantly I had to say that I interviewed as a guy. And the reason being for that is I'm still having some pretty significant problems in terms of just these feelings of complete inadequacy. It's like, just every time that I look at myself and I see the heavy brow, and I see my Italian pointy nose, and I see especially my big shoulders and my thick, very male chest, and it just makes me feel completely inadequate. And I look at cisgender girls, and so much of that experience is being small, of having small shoulders and a small build, and, you know, looking shapely, looking non-threatening, while I'm still just so big, 6'2", and overweight, and I just feel like I'm just kidding myself to think that I'll ever fit into that group, and you know, it just still has me petrified. Especially because, once again, I've been going out in public and I am never gendered female, ever. I'm always gendered male. So, you know, I just constantly feel like, who am I to make this switch and expect all these people to suddenly, like, especially the girls, how are they supposed to accept me, and how are they supposed to consider me a member of their own groups when I still look so huge and so non-feminine? And these issues just keep petrifying me and keeping me from making the switch. And what kills me about this is that it's reaching the point where every single day that I don't, it's hurting me. And I can see this, like, today's the last day that I'm going to be living in the same house as my ex-girlfriend. I'm moving out tomorrow, and ultimately I feel like the failure of our relationship was my fault. Like, you know, when we first started dating, it was my fault that I was such a nervous wreck that I couldn't talk. When we finally, you know, it was my fault that we couldn't be together and we had to be in a long-distance relationship for 5 years because I couldn't get through college, because I couldn't get the motivation on the most basic of levels to do my homework, to get up every morning and go to class, because I just felt so crappy about myself. And even now, it's the same thing, you know. About a month ago, for all practical purposes, I was full-time for a while. You know, I wasn't leaving the house without the wig on, and all of my social interactions, I was carried to everybody. And then I've had to go back to that recently, and ever since then, for like the last 4 weeks, as I've been once again forced to socialize with the world as a guy, I've been miserable. Every single day, I end up, like, at least several times a week, I end up in bed crying because I just feel so inadequate in terms of making that social switch, and I'm just so mad at myself that I don't have the courage to just do it and get it over with, even though now I know how much of a benefit it's going to be to my sense of self and well-being. And looking back, I can just see how much it has hurt me to not be able to express this side of myself. I still can't do it. And I really don't know how I'm going to get over this. I mean, again, I just feel like on a core level I should just step up and do this and get it over with. And I know that I'm going to be happier afterwards. And especially because, you know, I have such severe dysphoria in terms of my genital anatomy, and ever since I was 13 and they started growing in the first place, I wanted them gone. And I still do. And it's reached the point where I can't even function sexually on the most basic of levels because it just feels like such a conflict down there. And yet I can't, I'm barred from getting anything done about that because you have to be living full time for a year before you're even eligible for it. So every single day I don't do this, it's hurting me, and it's keeping me from feeling comfortable in my body on the most basic of levels. And I've been home for a week now, and I should have been packing, but almost nothing is packed. My room is still a disaster. I still haven't gotten any of my clothes together. I don't know what to do. I just feel like such a screw-up. And, my uncle asked me, he said, if this is hurting you so much, why did it take you so long to do something about it? And I really don't know. Looking back at how I was as a teenager, I had such severe dysphoria. I was taping myself up. I almost cut my own arm off because I was so desperate to get out of that body that I was in. And, I tried freezing my anatomy in ice so that it would fall off. It's like, oh my God. It's just hurt me so much over the years in so many ways, and yet I'm such a freaking coward. I'm so afraid of how others are going to treat me, and this is the same issue that stopped me from day one. It's the reason why I never looked into it more in high school. It's the reason why I tried to repress it for so many years, because I'm just so afraid of being judged by others. I'm so afraid of not being accepted, of getting that silent treatment where, people just kind of treat you like a freak. I'm so afraid of that. I don't know what to do. How can I get over these inadequacy issues? And I know I'm never going to make it to full time until I can. So, what can I do? How can I get over these feelings of inadequacy and this guilt for all these years that I've not lived up to my potential and that I've hurt other people? Again, I mentioned the relationship thing. I just feel so much guilt because it was all my fault. I'm the one that was a miserable, self-loathing pile of crap that couldn't talk to her and couldn't perform the most basic of romantic gestures, and, because of my own inadequacy issues, couldn't, deal with the intimacy, and, it's my fault that we fought over cleaning. It was always me that needed to clean. It was always me that was leaving stuff messy because I didn't care, because I was feeling so crappy that I couldn't focus on any of this health stuff, because just so much of my mental energy is taken up by hating myself, and yet I still can't do anything about it. What do I do? But in any case, that's why, unfortunately, I'm still starting this new job as a guy, and why I'm still too afraid to make the social switch. Because every day I look in the mirror and I still see a male self, and people are still gendering me male. And because I lack that ability to accept myself on the most basic of levels, to have that sense of self where you can go out into the world and have the strength to tell people, this is who I am, deal with it. I don't have that. Every time someone genders me male, every time someone clocks me, every time I'm made to feel the least bit inadequate, I end up in bed, crying, feeling like I'm never going to get there, feeling like I'm a failure as a human being. That's all I have to say. Goodbye.